Hey everyone, this is the Trade to Black podcast in Miami this week as we touch down for Wonderland Miami and we talk psychedelics. It's big conference season and it's the biggest psychedelic conference of the year. So let's begin with our interviews this week. We bring in Kathryn Walker. She is the CEO of Revitalist Wellness. Great to have you and great to connect again. It's been a few months since
I
we
know,
last spoke,
it's been
right?
a while. Yeah, excited to be here.
I know. We looked at it. We were talking off camera about where this conference was 12 months ago.
Yeah.
It was the beginning of something new. There was a lot of optimism. What would you say the vibe is this year? Because when you look at the market side, obviously stocks have been hit hard, but the growth of the industry, you're seeing a lot of positivity. So maybe share with our audience what you're feeling and experiencing in the first day so far.
For sure. Yeah. So coming from a medical background, I've been to a lot of medical conferences. Last year, completely different, right? It was very theatrical and such, and it was beautiful what they did last year. But this year, walking into it, I was like, oh, it's starting to get more of a traditional feel to it, you know, which a lot of people
What's that mean?
Like in the medical world, you know, where you have a lot of sponsors, it's much more structured,
Right.
you know, a structured environment. But, you know, what that's going to do, one, it's going to put people in the psychedelic space be like, oh, I don't know about this. But, you know, really what it's doing is it's validating the space, because the money in the space for psychedelics is going to come from traditional money. And this is part of the integration. So as it goes to more of a traditional look per se, we just need to make sure that we maintain it exactly the way we want it, because we're building it, right? We're still in the building phases. And last year, tons of money in the public space, right? And now we've seen the bloodbath with all the insurance, you know, with all the stock and all the different pieces. And then, so, you know, really this is year 2 of the survivalists.
I would definitely say that. Interesting to find out though that the FDA is going to be here this year. It's like positive in the right direction. Some pretty well-known people that, you know, people understand. Rick Doblin, like he's going to be here speaking as well, which he was last year, but we continue this conversation going. So what's that say when you have somebody like the FDA, members from them that are actually attending these events? Because obviously they're getting, it's got their attention, right?
Yeah. So yeah, validation, legitimacy, right? That's what we're doing in this space. And the science is remarkable. You know, you can't argue with the science with all of this, but what's going to have to happen is, you know, as we're out in the, you know, doing the retreats internationally, which I love too, as we're out doing that, when the FDA comes in, you have to look, these are polarities.
Right.
We've got them internationally, but then we also have the FDA, who's all the white coats in the hospitals doing research that is really non-applicable to the environment that we're in today. So we're going to have to pull these worlds together in the middle and make them get along.
Do you think it's happening?
It is, yeah, and I think it's probably happening at a rate of speed that none of us can comprehend. Because think about it, we're in a mental health crisis.
Totally.
People are dying every day. I think the rate of suicide for your 10 to 14-year-olds is the second leading cause of death now.
Are you serious?
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Second leading cause of death
10
for
to
10 to
14.
14.
Yep. So
Wow.
yeah. So that's why, you know, one of the things that we've created, that's
Yeah.
going to go live in December, is an adolescent curriculum. That's going to be across the entire United States. So we can do it virtually, because we got it. Somebody's got to help these kids.
How's that work with your company?
So we have our therapists and we're our providers, to where they'll be actually kids between the ages of 10 to 17 will be able to join online, virtual platform, 1-hour session, and we're teaching them about the brain.
Okay.
So we're not sitting there to, you know, make anything pathologic or anything like that. We're just saying, hey kids, let's learn about our brain. Let's increase the emotional intelligence, you know, because we've got to start somewhere, because these kids, we got to stop losing our kids, right? So parents will be able to sign their kids up, kids can sign up, whatever else. It's 8 to a group and it's week over week. So we're going to have like 40 groups per week, to where they'll be able to sit with a therapist, go over some really cool content. You know, just to where they learn about themselves.
Right.
And what we're doing is we're extending their livelihood, decreasing their suicidality, decreasing violence, and we're, you know, really giving to our communities.
Wow.
So it's going to be a huge revenue flow for us as well.
So when we first met you about 18 months ago, and we started to learn more about your business model, you had a vast approach about expanding clinics across the U.S. As many as, I think it was, if I'm correct, 130 was the expansion plan, or in around that amount, over a number of states. So fast forward to where we are today. What are we at as far as how many clinics and how many states? We've seen an explosion of ketamine clinics that's taking place. So when we look at that footprint, what are some of the things, like obviously it's getting more attention, it's needed, but are there things that we need to be careful of in how this rollout happens? If so, what are they?
Yeah, I mean, well, one, it's hard, right? It's difficult to do the bricks and mortar. So we have 9 clinics across 6 states.
Okay.
And then, yes, my goal is to continue. I want to have 300 clinics, in the next 5-10 years across the United States. My piece of this, though, it's such an undeveloped discipline. So ketamine's one piece of it, right? And I was telling someone earlier today, with ketamine specifically, some people will go get one infusion and they're like, well, I didn't get better with one. And it's like, that's almost like saying, I skipped lunch. Why didn't I lose weight?
Okay. Good way of putting it.
So what I have noticed, so my company is based on deficiencies in the system.
Yeah.
So if I see a deficiency, I'm like, oh, we need to bring this in. This is how we can help, right? So it's demand. It's all the demand that's out there in society. So as we have the 9 clinics across 6 states, yes, we're still making the company comprehensive. So we're going to be the first full service psychedelic wellness center.
What's that mean?
So we'll be able to not only have infusions in-house, but then also we have the partnership with Wake. So we can do infusions in the United States. We can do psilocybin internationally. We have curriculums. So I have 3 curriculums that are coming out. A global curriculum. Anyone above 15 years of age and up will be able to participate in that. And it's a self-paced 6-month program, all online, right? So that's global. We have an adolescent curriculum, which Riley Cote is our leader with the adolescent curriculum, to where we can actually go into schools and we can teach them about how to utilize sports and how do you maintain your mental health and wellness, right? Okay. So we have that. And then we also have an athletic curriculum to where we go in and we teach coaches. Because
how do you see that expanding and branding for more and more people to learn and understand?
We're going to go to the companies. So the companies, there's a lot of laws that have changed with companies who actually have insurance for their employees.
Okay.
And they're responsible, right? So their premiums are going sky high because mental health, it's not working, So we have these programs to be more preventative and then really kind of help people integrate and walk along the way with their employees and employers.
Yeah.
So the employers can invest in their employees with mental health and wellness, and then they're also increasing their emotional intelligence, helping them to stay really on top of their mental health instead of being like, hey, Shad, I want to kill myself today. And it's like, I've not had any issues at all. I don't know why I want to kill myself. Maybe because we're just not prepped for it. I mean, maybe there's a deficiency there as well. So with the curriculums, that's a piece. We'll go to the universities, go to employers, help them to reduce their insurance premiums by decreasing the amount of times that people go to the physician or ER or inpatient for their mental health, right?
Okay.
So yeah, it's going to be a huge revenue flow there too.
A lot of conversation, insurance companies very interested. They're getting involved more and more. You actually announced recently about an announcement of partnering with a patient lending company, which actually allows patients to have up to $100,000 of lending towards Revitalist different services. So how is that put together? But maybe let's backtrack a little bit. How does that exactly work?
So that's, so when you say ketamine or you say psychedelics,
okay,
lenders, insurers, all of them get hesitant and they're like, oh, I don't want to be in that space. We're not written for that space kind of thing. So for us to work with MLend and for MLend to say, yes, whatever you guys offer.
Who is the name of the company again?
It's MLend Financial.
Okay.
Yeah. But for us to work with them and say, yes, whatever you all offer, we're happy to help support that.
Okay.
It's huge.
All right.
Like Stripe is one of the companies, they will not support psychedelics at all. But MLend will support not only ketamine and psychedelics, but anything that we want to do, travel, different pieces like that. They will help support. They just love our mission, right? And that's a beautiful thing. So it allows access for individuals who need the care now. You get them healthier, mentally healthier, then they're able to contribute to society more. So it's a win-win.
Wow. So what does that look like 2 to 3 years from now?
With the partnership with them?
Yeah, the partnership, the growth of the industry, people being more established and understanding it more.
I think it's going to take time, right? I mean, it's just education. People are still scared of psychedelics. They still go back to the 70s with psychedelics,
I hear you
especially.
there.
And then it's educate. It's all about education, and it just takes a second to get over that hump. So yeah, in 3 to 5 years, I think some of these companies are going to be worth millions and not billions of dollars because the sky's the limit. We're in a whole society right now that's yearning for what we're doing.
I know. Well, I can't believe that stat you said, though. Between 10 and 14 years of age, the second leading cause of death.
Yep.
I have a daughter who's 9, and it's just like you've got important years, to say the least, as they go through this stage in their life. But, that's it's a little eye-opening when you think of the times that we're in right now. But do you believe, what are some of the hot topics that are being discussed at this conference this week?
It's the evolution of. I think it's the hot topics. What I like about it, they are discussing a lot of psychedelics and then the evolution of and the science and sex and women and all kinds of different pieces.
Yeah.
What I love about it, one, psychedelics is just controversial right now. It's getting better, yes. We feel like it's being accepted in our space, but we have to think that like 96% of the world still doesn't know anything about it.
I know.
But what I love about things that they're speaking about at the conference is like they're speaking to populations that are underserved.
What's that mean?
Right. So, mental health in general is underserved. Nobody understands it, right?
Okay.
But then we're also speaking about very controversial topics on different protocols that haven't been established. So that's one thing I love about it. So you put 5 people up on a stage, those 5 people are all going to have differing opinions because the gold standard's not been set yet.
What's the gold standard, you think?
There's not one. So gold standards evolve over time, but, and I'm trying to be open-minded to all. My personal opinion, I think that, it needs to be in somewhat of a controlled environment to where you can have people to help support you if you need to. And whether that's at home or retreats or in-house or, in clinics, I don't care. I just think that for someone to take a substance and just do it on their own all the time and not really have anyone to talk to or really, integrate with or share with, I think that's a big piece. Think about addiction. And psychedelics are going to be beautiful in addiction. But addiction is where you take a substance and you isolate yourself and you're treating yourself, but you're closed off from everyone around you. That's the big piece with psychedelics. I think it's so beautiful is that it does connect you. And we just have to make sure that people are connecting with each other to stay healthy.
Business side, a lot of stocks in this industry have been down 70, 80, 90% year over year. What are you communicating to your investors right now on why this makes a viable decision to be a long-term investment to invest in your company?
Well, one, my stock is absolutely horrible right now, the price of it, right? The interesting thing is our revenues are higher than our market cap.
Oh, how so?
I think the last time I looked at our market cap, it was like a little over 2 million, and then our revenues are going to be around 4 million this year. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a beautiful time to get in. Right. But then also, it's a time to where you need to see who's actually revenue producing. Because if you're getting in and they don't have a lot of money in the bank and they're not revenue producing, it's not a company to invest in right now.
Well, that's some of the stuff I think investors are questioning right now. Is yes, clinics are opening up, but how do they generate profit? Not necessarily profit, be cash flow positive. So if you're looking at a model, a clinic model that's being successful, that's in the black, let's say in 2 to 3 years from now, what needs to be done?
It's gonna need to be comprehensive. I mean, unless you're doing, with ketamine specifically, unless you're doing, 20, 30 infusions a day,
is that practical for a clinic?
It is, yeah.
Is it?
They can, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I think the most we've ever done in a day is like 28, with those pieces. So you can be profitable from that aspect, but really you need to support the whole person. I think.
What does that look like when you're doing 28 infusions? Somebody calls up, sets up an appointment, comes to the clinic, walks in. Walk me through what that whole process is.
Yeah, so we do consults prior to each person or before people get scheduled.
And they're calling anxiety, depression, something's bothering them, they feel off.
Anxiety, depression, OCD, PTSD, pain. We do pain as well, so we do mental health and pain. But they do that. And then we also have a risk analysis scale, right?
Okay.
So something's off. So we get kids from the university. We're just about 10 minutes away from the University of Tennessee. We get kids who come in and they go, I don't feel right. And they have no idea how to identify that. And that's why I created the federal unit scale, which is a risk analysis scale, to where if somebody doesn't feel right, we won't treat them if they can't verbalize it in society, right? So but usually if they don't feel right, it's because they're actually suicidal. Something's going on in their head and they just can't can't put words to the emotion that they're feeling.
Oh, wow.
Right? So in traditional medicine, we'll turn them away.
Right. So what happens when they get into a ketamine infusion? How does that change?
So ketamine infusions at the clinic. So we do the ketamine infusions. We have a therapist or a coach who sits with those individuals during, just because there's about a 20, 30 minute period of just beautiful, that people are vulnerable. They're not emotionally attached to anything and they can talk about whatever.
Wow.
And the brain processes like 6 months and one session, right?
Really?
Oh, it's amazing.
So somebody comes in, has an infusion. This has been led up. They're dealing with this for months in advance, I assume.
Sure. They can be, yeah.
Do you find a lot of people that come once, come again and again, like a repeated customer? Wow.
Because they see a big difference, right?
So if you do it, you're thinking at coming to a clinic twice a year. Does that make sense? Or
the recommendation right now is 6 times over the course of 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, 6 times over 2 to 3 weeks.
Yep. And
Okay.
then you don't come back until you need to. Right. So you do an induction period
Yeah.
with the infusions, and then you come back as you need to. So you're just taking off layers.
Right.
Right. So it's not something that happens overnight
Okay.
when people feel bad.
So the whole duration from the time that you start the infusion to the time that you leave the clinic, like, can you get in your car? Can you drive home? Are you?
We don't, yeah, we get people to drive. We help with Uber. We have Uber Health who helps with us as well. But then, no, we have people who drive them home because it really simplifies things in your brain. So they're there for about 90 minutes, right?
Okay.
And then they have someone to drive them home.
Okay.
And people, it's not that they're overly complex with the thought process. It's almost like their slate's been cleaned off. And then everything is very simple.
Okay.
So if you were driving a car on a dirt road by yourself, I'd be fine with that.
Right.
But your reaction
Exactly.
times are decreased. So that's why we get people to drive, have drivers. And I'll tell them they'll feel kind of foggy for about 4 hours.
What do you think of this whole at-home clinic, like, kind of movement that's eventually potentially happening or could happen, where people are actually going to be doing a lot of this stuff at home with home kits? Like, what's the difference between that and going to a clinic, and what do we have to be careful of pertaining to that?
I think there's going to be, it's several factors, right? So clinics are when you go in, when you have something really, really heavy, right? So
Yeah.
you're like moderate, severe kind of piece.
Gotcha.
I think at home is going to be more mild. What I don't like is I don't like the providers, and this is just my personal opinion, I don't like providers that are giving at-home subscriptions for ketamine, and they're also mixing them with benzodiazepines, opioids,
Right.
Adderall,
Right.
because you're creating a bomb. There's
And
no studies that show how these guys work, and then these people are at home taking all of this, and they're over-sedating them and everything else. So, clinics that are able to do just ketamine and not mix them with all these other adjunct medications, I think there's something to that for sure.
Yeah.
I still think it needs to be in a controlled environment, though.
Well, I think a lot of people, first things first. I think it's one thing to get the attention from the FDA, to get legalization, some sort of framework in place. But at-home kits, to me, I don't think I understand it enough. But to your point, it's just like, this needs to be in a controlled environment to avoid, obviously, something bad from happening.
But if it's at home and we can track it, and they're taking ketamine and they're doing an integration session with a therapist,
Okay.
I'm okay
Virtually,
with that.
right.
Yeah. And I think that's safer than opioids, and I think it's safer than benzodiazepines.
Well, 100% it is, right?
But two, there just needs to be a way that we can structure it.
Yeah.
And because there's some people who are so sick they can't come to the clinic. Think about nursing home people per se.
Mm-hmm.
If ketamine is going to help with Alzheimer's and dementia and all these pieces, like, these people can't come to the clinic, so we need to make it accessible to
True.
them some
Good point.
way.
Good point.
But we need to do it in a very, very cautious, careful way, expecting that most of society right now, we're all addicts. Right? We're addicted to something.
Everything.
Sex, work, toilet paper, Tide Pods.
Yeah. It's even, you're on TikTok for like 10, 15,
TikTok,
20 minutes. Actually,
social media,
right, it's just
shopping.
everywhere. All right, let's do fireside chat. 3 benefits, psychedelics. What are they? Go.
Neurogenesis,
Okay.
positive growth, money.
Money.
There's going to be lots of money.
Okay.
Investors that are getting in now, there's going to be lots of money with that. And then 2, it's going to save the healthcare system.
So the bold statement here today, if you're looking at psychedelics in 2022, your prediction is it's going to save the healthcare system.
100%.
Wow. You feel that confidently. Why is that?
Because of the cost. You're breaking the cycle instead of just, supporting the symptoms. But you're breaking the cycle and you're saving the healthcare system probably about 75% of what they're spending now. So you have to look at all the funds that are being, just dumped.
Who are you connected with when it comes to people from Washington, lobbyists, those type of conversations? I know you've had some people in the past that you explained who you speak to that are changing their whole views as far as the healthcare system and the people that are the higher ups involved. But maybe share and back that up, that statement, as to why you believe that, and based on some of the conversations that you've had.
Yeah. So a couple weeks ago, I spoke at the Mental Health of America. So they're the largest nonprofit organization across the country that helps with lobbying legislation. Beautiful. Oh, it was such a nice talk. It was me and a psychiatrist and a psychologist.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure how they were going to speak about it, but they spoke so well, and it was so beautiful, and they understood it very, very well. So you got your nonprofit with the mental health. There's tons of them out there.
Okay.
So we've got them. PMC, the Psychedelic Medical Coalition.
Okay.
They're helping a lot with in the DC areas with lobbying there. I'm on the board for Women in Psychedelics, and then we have legislative and lobbyists in the U.S. and then also in Canada. So we have both of those as well. So yeah, it's kind of diverse. I've been to something called ACO payer meetings for insurance companies.
Okay.
And there's been some good, people there. Like Chris Christie was there
Really?
just recently.
Okay.
There was a retired surgeon
What's his
general.
view on it?
They're trying to be as open as possible. I think the biggest piece is with the veterans, because we had the
100%
VA contract,
Yeah,
with all those. So, and we have a lot of veterans with us. Tom Satterley, who
Yeah.
the movie Black Hawk Down was after, he's one of the advisors with the company. He's helping just to
Wow.
give access, right,
Wow.
to veterans in the U.S. and then outside the U.S. And did you see the statistic with veterans with suicidality?
No. Which?
So 22 a day, right, is what they
Okay.
used to say. There's new data that came out in September that said they weren't including certain aspects of, including like overdoses.
Wow.
So now they think that veterans are killing themselves at 44 times a day instead of 22. Yep. So we've got a much bigger need there than what we ever expected.
So you can understand the urgency of why this could potentially-
Absolutely. And this is a piece of it. Where we're going to win this argument is ethics. Because if they're like, hey, it's going to take 15 years to get this drug
Can't.
developed. No, because your kid just killed themselves yesterday.
Yep.
How are you ethically going to tell me that we don't need to change the system right now? Because you can't argue it to say, well, I want to make sure it doesn't hurt their liver. Okay, well, your child just hung themselves yesterday.
Don't you think there's every single person out there, whether they're related or have a close friend or contact that knows someone right now that is struggling with mental health?
Yeah, it's 1 in 5.
Yeah.
1 in 5 has a diagnosable condition at any given time, and that's being diagnosed.
Yeah.
My piece is mental health is everything. Do I have symptoms of depression sometimes, and anxiety and PTSD and OCD? Probably. We probably all do.
I think one of the educational things is that we talk about extreme conditions that people are going through, but this is also for the everyday mom who's overwhelmed, that's being stretched in like 6 or 7 different ways, or a dad who's in 42, 43 years old that's trying to provide for his family, and you're dealing with those kinds of stresses, right?
Yep, it's stress.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they get stuck on one path.
Yeah.
And then they don't know how to break it.
Right.
So there's a part of your brain called the salience network.
And then that molds your child's personality, right?
And, well, even your adult, you get stuck on this path, you don't know how to get off of it, and it becomes you. Psychedelics takes you off the path, it puts you in a vulnerable mindset, and it gives you a clean slate. That's why I'll tell people you need to stick with this for 6 weeks to 6 months with working with someone, because when you get that clean slate, okay, now what?
Right.
Right? And because you don't want to fall back into the pattern that you were in, you just broke the pattern. Now let's retrain you. So it's a training program.
So you talked about increased revenue year over year. What are you seeing with your clinics? A lot more business and growth?
Clinics are getting there. It's shifting, right? So it's going from people who have been on antidepressants for 35 years to now more so people saying, wait a minute, I've tried antidepressants and yoga and meditation. I want to try this now. So they're still trying,
They
different
nervous
places.
still, but open to the idea? Like they're learning more about
They're
it?
learning more about it. Yeah. So your population shifting, and that
Okay.
that's a really nice thing about it. And then we've got these
Yeah, that's
guys
my last
here.
thing. Let's bring this up. So these are Vital Revive supplements.
That's right. It's their proprietary supplement line called
I
Vital
smell a
Plus.
sponsorship for our podcast.
What? And so
This
is
Trade of Black is brought to you by Vital Revive, helping you feel revived. How's that sound? All right, so what is this? What does it make me do? How does it make me feel? Increased energy and drive,
yeah.
decreased stress, improved mood, increased focus and memory, immunity support, and caffeine free, which is
It's
important.
daytime. This is daytime. We got daytime and we got nighttime because you
Okay.
got to balance.
Okay,
You gotta
so
be
how's
awake and
this work?
asleep.
What's this? Okay, I take one of these during the daytime. How does it make me feel? This is over-the-counter supplements.
Yep.
It's not mind-altering.
Nope.
What does it help me?
So all the ingredients in these help to support individuals who have participated with psychedelic medicine. So even if you don't participate in psychedelic medicine, it still helps you, right?
Yeah.
So any psychedelic out there, right? Ketamine, MDMA, LSD, psilocybin, whomever, it helps to support neurogenesis.
Okay.
So it helps to support growth,
All right.
right? So what we also focus on nutrition. Nutrition helps to support brain growth. And so what these do is every substance that's in here helps to complement the science of the way psychedelics work.
Where do you find these?
You can find them at vitalplussupplements.com. That's
How
our
do you-
website, or revitalistclinic.com.
Do you plan to expand in brick and mortars, get these on shelves, supplement stores?
Yep.
Very competitive. So do you have a lot of contacts within that field?
We do, but this is I'm not going to say it is the first, but I'm pretty sure it's close to the first, or it is the first supplement line that complements psychedelics. So right now in the space, people are like, oh, you can do psychedelics, but you got to get on antidepressants or whatever else to continue. There's no science that says that. We know for a fact that the science of these supplements supports psychedelics, the way psychedelics work from a scientific level. So,
Vital Revive. This segment's been brought to you by Vital Revive. By the way, this isn't a sponsorship, just being funny.
We're going to clip that from the video, and we're going to use it as a sponsorship.
Yeah, maybe we should. Listen, it's been so good catching up with you. This has been great, but obviously good time to come to Miami. You're enjoying yourself?
I am, yeah, as always.
As usual. But yeah, this is good to see the growth of the industry. Good to obviously reconnect with people like yourselves, and let's keep in touch.
Yeah. Sounds good, Chad. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Hey, everyone. Thanks for watching. So what'd you think of the interview? If there's any information that you want to know more of or want to learn about, then provide us with feedback by leaving a comment below. And if you like what we're producing, then feel free to subscribe to our channel, share this video with your network, and as well, click on that bell for all notifications because we would not be here without you. We appreciate it. Thanks for watching, everyone.